Very good. So let's go ahead and get started then. Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Washington, D.C. JavaScript meetup. It's a very large group. I'm so impressed at all the meetings you folks have and all the recordings, really a great library of content. That's really the way to do it. It's great. I actually have a meetup in Tampa that I run, the mobile dev group down here. And I should do the same thing, start doing that and create a nice library. It's really an excellent idea. So anyway, my name is Russ Festino. I'm developer advocate for Algorand. Also, I have with me Ryan Fox, who's going to help out with some of the Q&A today. Ryan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Say hi.
Hi, good evening or good morning, wherever in the world you are. I'm Ryan Fox. I'm on the team here with Russ at Algorand. Looking forward to connecting with you guys tonight. Please use the chat window to send questions. I'll try to answer them in real time as Russ is going, and then interrupt him and present that question to him to answer if it's more in depth than that. But look there, I'll be pasting links in there as we go on.
Well, that's great. All right, Ryan, thanks a lot. And Ryan's also a developer advocate on the team. So we're in the trenches a lot, creating a lot of content, doing a lot of demos, doing a lot of sessions, building that developer community. That's really the sweet spot, you know, for being in the developer advocate role. I do have a poll question, so let me bring this up and just to kind of get a feel for the experience level here. So you should see this shortly, and what you do is just scan that barcode in and go ahead and answer some of the questions we're about to show you here. And once you do that, or if you go to slido.com, just enter in the 90224. And I'll give you a little bit to do that. Basically, I'm going to be asking, you know, A, if you're a developer or not, B, what languages you use, and then your experience level to blockchain. So let's go ahead and put this first poll up and see here. So are you a developer? Yes or no? And we got a reply. I mean, somebody found that site okay. And we got 5, 6, 7 people now and up here logged in. That's great. Okay, yeah, I expect this to be a heavy developer crew here, given the nature of the group. But you never make assumptions. So it looks like we got a good representative sample here now. And I will move to the next question. So 83%, yes, sometimes 17. So those are the weekend coders. Next question. How experienced with blockchain are you? Algorand blockchain. Well, first choice is brand new to blockchain, period. The second one is maybe you've got some other blockchain experience, but you're brand new to Algorand blockchain. And 6 months or less, and then 6 months or more. You make that with any blockchain, those last two. So the results are coming in here. You can see those on my screen, I take it, right, Ryan? You can see those? The results on the screen?
Yes, that's correct. Yep,
all
they're
right,
coming
great.
up as we see them. Yeah, 70-30 split there. Looks good.
Yep, okay. Very good. So some experience with blockchain, that's great. And some folks are brand new to blockchain, period. Most people are in that category. Okay, let's move to the final question in our poll today. And that is programming language, your favorite language, or check all that apply actually. Yeah, we got a lot in JavaScript here. That's good. Python, Java, Go, other C#, all on the list there. Okay, great. So we got some Python devs and we got some other ones coming in, Java, few Go, few C#, and mostly 91% for that. All right, thanks everybody. I'll finish that up. And let's go back out to the deck. So we do have a giveaway tonight. If you register for our newsletter, and we'll get started right after this, At the end, we'll do a drawing for a $100 Amazon gift card. So take a picture of this. If you do go out to the developer.algorand.org site, there, it's in the footer there on the bottom right of the page here with circled for newsletter. Or you can use the URL or the QR code. You seem to be pretty good at that from the last exercise. So sometime during the session, we'll have you sign up and then we'll do a drawing at the end. In fact, what I will do is keep that here, but I'm going to copy that and put it as about halfway through for latecomers so they can get in on the action. Put it like right over here. All right, so let's bring that back up. And here it is. So go ahead and take a picture of that, and then I'm going to move on and get this thing underway. All right, so new to Algorand blockchain development. Looked like most people were in that category. And what I'm going to cover here is a few things. Number one, what are the possible solutions for blockchain? What's a good solution to build a blockchain application for? And what are the features for developers? We have a lot of great tools that we'll be going through today in our toolbox for developers, which keeps on growing and growing with the developer community. And then also, how do I get started is another common question, as well as what kind of solutions, how do I get started building solutions? And brand new to blockchain, well, we got a section here we're going to do up front on that as well to get your whistle wet in terms of this technology. So the agenda we're going to follow here today are blockchain use cases with a section on blockchain basics. We've got layer one features. Now, layer one, for those that are new to blockchain, are features that are right on the blockchain. It's built into the protocol and it's available right on the blockchain, as opposed to a layer two type feature, which is typically like an SDK, like JavaScript application you might be writing that performs certain things. So that is, we're going to cover that in depth in the second section. And then great developer tools. It's all about the tools, right? So blockchain use cases. First one I want to talk about here is a props network. It's a turn app users into loyal financial stakeholders. It's a reward system, right? So props platform extract blockchain technology complexity for apps. So they have widgets you can incorporate into your applications and websites. It's a very simple API for loyalty programs. And it's SEC approved token that they have. So the token is something you create with the blockchain. Assets is another name for them. And ecosystem for token holders is what they provide. And there is a video on that available if you want to see more information on that as well. Now, the next one here is Circle and Coinbase. It's a central consortium. And payments and treasury infrastructure for the internet. It accepts payments. You can send out globally, leverage traditional payments through blockchain infrastructure, as well as it's global, scalable, and efficient. This is all about USDC, which is the fastest growing stablecoin. 2.3 billion was a few months ago. I'm sure it's far greater than that at this point as well. So those that aren't familiar with USDC, one of the problems with cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or even our algo that Algorand has on our chain is that those tend to fluctuate sometimes. They'll go way up or way down. And that's very difficult to do transactions in that kind of a scenario. Where a USDC token is tied to the USD economy. So if the US dollar goes up and down, so does that particular token. So this makes it a lot more attractive for investors and people to spend money and do transactions, knowing that it is going to be fairly more stable. So that's a good thing. And we have a case study on that up on our case study site. Just go to algorand.com, use case studies. Also, I recently read a crypto thesis for 2021 at Mazario.io. You can see the reference at the bottom there. And this was referenced in the document. That's a great read, by the way. If you're really looking to bone up on all the acronyms and technology and everything, download that report. It's free. I think you just got to sign up on the site and you can get the PDF. It's, like I said, it's about 130 pages. So with that in mind and creating assets, in the old days, a lot of companies used to do stock options or some way to share the equity of the company and wealth with its employees. And this idea is a great idea, right? Because then the employees really get incentive to do well and get more rewards, get more ownership in the company. Well, now with blockchain assets, it really opens the door up. Like, think about these things and the possibilities of Wikipedia. What if Wikipedia was owned by the editors? You post an editor, do a post and do some editing, and then you get rewarded for that, and by getting maybe a token for that. And all of these work along the same line. So it could be, a small business that lists on Yelp, or the contributors who help power it own shares in the company. Could Reddit reward its moderators with ownership? Airbnb, right, host equity if they become a superhost. Uber driver, like Uber is, the profits are like, exponential, but the drivers are at a linear, income, right? It's very, very straight, straight and narrow. So these are things that make you think about, the potential for these assets. So like Uber drivers could own a piece of the business if they maintain a high enough rating over rides, for example. So these are all things that would help out. And then, if you take a look at some more things, other use cases here, basically what we see here is tamper-proof charity organization. Now, this information I got from the China blockchain report for 2020. And for example, when there was a big earthquake out there about 10 years ago, there was really a misuse of funds on the charity collections. There was no track record, there was no accounting or no ledger that was easily accessible and can see where the information was coming from and going to. So really what they're doing is looking at improving transparency of all social services. And something like blockchain, when I get into the blockchain section, is ideally, it is tamper-proof, and that's one of the biggest strengths of it. And it does have an audit trail built right in as such. So that is a very, very strong feature of blockchain type solutions. And this way, it facilitates tracking of the donations and having that audit trail. And what about voting? Another great solution, right? This is seeing how it's tamper-proof. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about any kind of voting that's going on. Another great solution for a blockchain to facilitate. And it doesn't end there. Healthcare with global access and medical records. I can't tell you how many times I go to a new doctor, then I got to spend a half hour updating all my medical records with this doctor. Wouldn't it be nice if I can control my own medical records and say, okay, here it is. It's out on a blockchain. This is all the information, right, that you need. And boom, I'm done and don't have to worry about that. But more than just a convenience, what if you're not able to provide that information? Maybe it's an emergency and you can't talk, or or not capable of it. These are all things you have to consider, and these are problems that today we're facing in the healthcare industry by not having the stuff globally accessed. You need to have it at where the medical team is at, is really where you need to have that information. Automotive, another big area, supply chain visit, any kind of supply chain type application is a great, and where, solution where you got checkoffs along the way. So a lot of effort is going into, for example, what China is doing is putting sensors into the engines, and anytime maintenance is done, it automatically tracks it and puts it out on the blockchain, so they know definitively, what wear and tear that particular automobile has been through. And so again, this is another, these are all different, you know, industries that can utilize this going forward. So, you know, this all goes to the spare parts and, you know, really writing that data generally right to the blockchain. But you know what? The biggest area that's most exciting is DeFi, and that stands for distributed finance. This is exploding in you know, the 20 and 21 years. And again, I got these figures right from that Mazzario report. And believe it or not, in 2020, $1 trillion in cumulative blockchain network value. So there's a lot of blockchains out there. There's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, there's Algorand, and about 1,900 other blockchains last time I checked. The cumulative value of all those networks is over $1 trillion. And most of that was done in the last 6 months of the year. So this is something that is pretty exciting. And the forecast is threefold. You know, this coming year in 2021, expecting over $3 trillion are forecast in the blockchain industry. That, my friends, is nothing to sneeze at. That is a significant hit in terms of the usage for blockchain. And you'll see that part of the reason for this is the fact that there are no boundaries, like when you're doing transactions. One of the beautiful things about blockchain is the fact that there's 2 billion people on this planet that lack access to modern financial services. And you don't need modern financial services to do blockchain transactions. All you need is a sender and a receiver. There's no middleman. So this really facilitates financial transactions really, really good. And this is why you're seeing this take off. So a few other reasons we'll hit upon too, but those are the main ones. You know, globally accessible. You know, in the case of Algorand, really great performance. So a lot of these folks are hopping on board with IDEX, Polkadot, stable coins like Tether. We mentioned USDC, MELD. These are all examples of DeFi applications that are running on our network. And more use cases as well. We even got World Chess on board, as well as things like Planet Watch, Republic. These are all folks that are utilizing our blockchain, and just go out to the use cases site linked up on top. And then finally, this is an amazing slide. We've been around for 2 years, and we've got over 500 companies that leverage the Algorand blockchain performance, and over 60 global exchanges we're on. You'll see algos listed there. 70 asset issuers. So this is our building your assets, or stable coins is an example of that. We are one of only 2 blockchains with the top 2 stable coins, USDC and USDT. And there's reasons for this, and we'll go to a few of those when we go over the protocol in the next section. Also very big in the community. We had over 500 ambassadors. These are like our MVPs representing 60 countries as well. So you can see a lot of universities engaged, financial infrastructure, a lot of technical groups. So it's really going good. Then the last slide here in this section, these are like a few of these quotes. The one in the upper left, I like in particular, it's about the documentation. So that's a nice quote.
This seems like an ad for their little school.
Hey,
What's that?
I think I'm gonna pull my hair out.
I think I have to mute that one. All right, we're good.
Okay. And so on the upper right, you've got the transaction fees are minimal, like 1/20th of a cent. And then also the speed to ensure users won't get caught up in the slow or delayed transactions that dominate so much of the current digital asset landscape. Also, performance and capabilities are unmatched with Republic. And down on the right, Balumi says all other blockchain platforms, transaction costs are very expensive and speed is painfully slow. And he feels that Algorand is a game changer. So that's just kind of a little bit to get your interest up a little bit. Now let's get into the blockchain. But before I do, I just want to see if we had any questions, Ryan, to share with anybody, or if anybody wants to speak up, they can just go ahead and unmute and speak up.
So nothing, no questions are pending in the queue right now, but yeah,
Okay.
like as you said, you can self-moderate to interject your question by unmuting yourself as well. Thanks.
I just wanted to say that I made my first transaction on the Algorand blockchain last week, just sending some to a wallet. And that's when I was just blown away by the speed and the cost of it.
Wow.
I was like, oh boy, all right, this is the real deal. So that's what got me really, really excited about it.
Yeah, Michael, what you did blockchain before with other blockchains?
No, just transactions, just moving things, just moving coin from an exchange into a wallet.
Oh, okay. All right, I see. So that was a good experience. Oh, good. Thanks for sharing that. That's great.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of folks are finding that, when you get down to it, is the speed and the scalability is just amazing here. So let's take a look at all this. For everybody that's brand new, basically, this represents a blockchain, and the way you can think of this is a ledger, where you have one block and it's a read-only ledger, except for when you go to write a new block, and a block has associated transactions with it. Some of you may have heard of forks or proof of work. In other words, mining, for example, that's done with Bitcoin. And this, we don't do any of that, and we basically do this. Okay, so what we do is we use the Byzantine generals problem to kind of describe this, right? So those that are unfamiliar with this, back in the day, you would have maybe 20 generals around this empire, and they have to communicate in order to figure if they're going to attack or not. And so if they have to communicate things like, do we have the supplies? Do we have enough people? Is anybody sick? That sort of thing. And they sent messengers around to each general to inform them. But something can happen, to those messengers. They can, break a leg and not get there. They can be corrupted. They can just, not go because it's raining out or whatever. And so there's a problem there, and it's tough to reach a consensus when you don't have everyone that's participating in it. And so the problem here is that the cost of this grows exponentially, or even quadratically, when you start scaling up the number of folks that have to communicate to create a census. And when you get to like maybe a million, say, folks, it's a million squared is the cost. And so what happened here is that Silvio Macaulay, our founder, figured it out. You don't really need everyone to participate. What you need is a representative sample, and the representative sample is key. And that's part of our VRF, or the verifiable random function. And Silvio is also a Turing Award winner. And for those new to the computing field, that's a very coveted award, like a Grammy in the entertainment industry. So we're pretty fortunate to have him as a founder of the company, and a lot of his smarts went into the protocol, right, that we build. So this is the key idea behind it. A small random number of committee members are used, and then at that point the committee agrees on a block of transaction, and every member verifies the transactions and digitally signs it. So this part of the process also includes verifying that the funds are there, right, in the sending account, that they're not double spending and that sort of thing. So that what goes into the voting process, and then the vote is added to the chain. And then you rinse and repeat. You do this again. This is done every 4 or 5 seconds is when these blocks are created, as opposed to like Ethereum or the Bitcoin, where it's like minutes, like several minutes, like 10 minutes. So by having a blockchain like this, it really facilitates point of sales transactions a lot easier, as well as just really transactions in general. So you can learn more about this protocol by watching a video up there, but hopefully this kind of made sense in terms of really just think about a blockchain as a distributed ledger. And everybody's got a copy. You run a node, you got a copy of that data store, you got a copy of that database right on your machine. And that's the idea. It is distributed, it's open, and it is available for really anyone to participate, which gets us to these two slides: permissioned versus permissionless, and private versus public. We hear this a lot in the industry when folks are talking about blockchain. So a private blockchain is a permissioned blockchain, and a public blockchain is a permissionless blockchain. In other words, anyone can join in a public blockchain. Anyone can read, anybody can write to that one block that's being burned, and it's decentralized. No one has control over the network. It's secure, and the data cannot be changed once it is validated. And the reason for that, it's like a hashing algorithm that is used between each block. So it's very easily to detect any tampering in the blockchain. So this is a very good feature. And once that's done, you're off to the races. You know, I had a woman that was in one of my sessions. I did a presentation in Tampa to the Women Who Code group, and she was in cybersecurity. And the way she explained it was, in terms of security, is the fact that Algorand has, it's like a two-factor authentication, where you have to verify that this is you by accepting a text message on your phone or an email or something like that. Well, this is something that I think that she said is like multiplying that times the number of blocks in the blockchain. That's how secure it is. So if that makes sense, that's really what's going on here, because you have that layer of security building all the way back to the Genesis block. Now, the private blockchain, this allows selected transactions, and authentication is typically required as it's built into the blockchain in terms of providing restrictions on who is allowed to participate in the network. So now you're probably asking, gee, well, what kind of applications can I build on a public and open blockchain like Algorand? Am I only limited to public and open? Well, no. And I'll get to all of these categories, but the short story is you can create solutions for all of these. But the ones for that I will start with here is like public and open. So ideal for currencies, ideal for betting, video games, that sort of thing, where it really is, there's no need to be not open, right? You're all set. You can do this kind of stuff there. With public and closed, maybe you want a portion of this to be public. Maybe you want the voting records withheld until a certain time, till all the voting is done, and then you can release that information. So it's both public and closed. Down in the bottom right, you got private and open. So this might be supply chain, where it might be, you've got the government financial records or corporate existing earnings, where you do want to release the earnings at some point, but you want them, private while you're creating them. And then finally, private and closed on the bottom left, things like national defense, law enforcement, military, tax returns. So here's the deal. What you can do is create a layer 2 solution that provides the authentication to the blockchain itself. So if you have an application, then you would be, your developers would be responsible for building that authentication piece. And there's actually partners that are available on our site that have products that do just that, and you could utilize that going forward. Ryan, if you can look that one up, I'm trying to think of, I can't remember the name off of my head, that does the authentication for blockchain. Anyway,
the OID.
Yeah, that's it. Say it again.
Sure thing. I'll post a link in there. OID.
Okay, great. All right, thanks. Appreciate that. All right. So with that said, we'll open the floor up. Anybody got any conversation here they want to share at this point, or questions maybe on the blockchain intro piece?
Russ, I've got a quick question for you.
Sure.
I was looking at one of the slides that you showed that had a lot of the clientele that you guys were utilizing in some of the industry that was some of the focus on here. Have you ever run across anybody that introduces things like a CRM, where you're trying to put the blockchain and integrate say like a client profile, let's say, into the blockchain? What are the limitations in terms of how much data is stored in there, and is that a useful thing, or do we want to look at things like, say, pointers to other locations that are stored other than just transactional, unless I'm speaking about it wrong or incorrectly, but
No, that's a great question. And yeah, I mean, you can utilize, we have a note field on transaction that's free form. So you can put any kind of data structure you want in there. Some few folks use it to maybe point to IPFS, which is a distributed data store. And those two go hand in hand with like Algorand's technology for distributed blockchain. So if you had like assets videos or something like that, maybe you'd store them on IPFS and then you put a link to them on the blockchain through the note field, perhaps. So those are things. And Ryan, are you aware of any applications like that? Any CRMs, folks? I thought I read about one somewhere.
A CRM based on this blockchain?
Blockchain,
No,
yeah.
Nothing comes to mind straight away. Sorry.
All right, no problem. Anyway, I offer up to browse out to the use cases, and there might be something out there, so we could take a look at that as well. All right, did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Matt, no problem. Okay, let's get into layer one features. All right, so this is right on the blockchain itself, and we're going to talk about a few things here. One of them is called Algorand standard assets. Then we got atomic transactions, smart contracts, and Rahim. We're going to cover these 4 topics in this section. What are these? Well, first we'll start out with the pure proof of stake protocol. That's what it's called, and it is pretty cool, right? It offers true scalability. And we have pegged it at over 1,000 transactions per second, less than 5 seconds to burn a block. And this is getting better even. So it's getting faster, and we're getting more throughput on this as well. And then also infrastructure longevity. We've rolled out several updates to the blockchain, smooth as silk. And then technical flexibility. We've got all sorts of SDKs. We offer up REST APIs, a lot of great tools. Transaction certainty, there's no forking. I didn't talk about this, but in other blockchains like Bitcoin, the miners will be spending a lot of money, first of all, because it's not green. They have to have very expensive equipment to burn a block, and sometimes when there's competing miners, you end up getting a fork, and only one of those forks will win and write the block to chain. Now you've got an orphaned fork. And so when you do a transaction, it's going to get done on our blockchain with the transaction certainty. Also, very extensible platform, a lot of great tools, command line tools, a lot of community tools have been built, as well as it's energy efficient. It's very lean and mean and green. You can actually run a node on a Raspberry Pi. So now you can envision expanding IoT to blockchain, where you have sensors writing data directly to the blockchain by having a node right there. It's very cost efficient as well, less than a penny for a transaction. And that's a really big attraction for a lot of these folks coming to the Algorand blockchain, as well as providing true security, as I mentioned, being a read-only data store. So with that said, let's talk about Algorand standard assets, or ASA. This facilitates you to create native tokens. You can create your own cryptocurrency with this capability, or you can create things like game tokens for a game. And this means also that there are several functions and management functions available to it. Asset spam protection, for example. And also you have, and you got to opt in to receive an asset. You can't just go ahead and send it blindly to everybody. And this resides on layer 1. This is built right into the protocol. So what are some examples? Well, you got fungible tokens, which are, basically each one of these is exactly the same. Each in-game point is the same. Each stable coin is worth the same amount. Loyalty points, system credits, these all fall into that category. And then you get restricted fungible tokens, where you can also invoke things like clawback if you need to for under certain situations. Now, the other type of example is non-fungible tokens. And the way I like to think about this is, for example, in real estate, you can have like a 2-bedroom house on one block. Then go a few blocks over and you have a same kind of house, but it's worth different because there's other characteristics that are associated with it. So yes, they're the same, but they're different. You know what I mean? So that is how I like to think of this in terms of non-fungible. Things like certifications, collectibles, and then real estate could be fall under the restricted as well as ownership registries and regulatory certifications. All right, so let's take a look at our first demo. This is going to be Algodesk, and Algodesk is a visual way to create these assets. They also have an application manager for doing smart contracts, and we'll talk more about that a little bit. I'm just going to focus on the creating of assets here. So the first thing you want to do is copy these phrases off. Anytime you create an account, this is actually referred to as a secret key, sometimes a spending key. And what this is going to be associated with is your ability to sign off on a transaction. If you want to send assets or algos from your account to another account, then this is what facilitates you to do that. And this is what would be used to restore your account if you ever wanted to restore it and have that available. So that is very important. And typically there are things called a ledger, like a nano ledger. This is I got one here in my hand. It looks like a USB stick, but it's not. It doesn't connect to your machine at all or the internet. And so that's a very good way to store that kind of information is on those. And it hooks up with Bluetooth, maybe with a wallet app like the Algorand wallet, and you can use the two in combination with each other. So anyway, that's a little bit of background. I'll talk more about public and private keys in a little bit. So this is the asset. We're going to go ahead and create one. This is our account we're working with here on top. And I am going to create one here called Pizza REF. We'll go with my name. And this one here, we'll just go with a unit of PRUS2. And then I've got an asset URL. So there is a URL field, by the way. So if you didn't want to use the note field to put the URL for IPFS, for example, you can have it as a field on this particular asset. And then these are the roles we started talking about. You have a reserve address role, which is, it manages your reserves. Clawback is in charge of, getting funds back. Freezing an account, you have a different role there, and then a manager role, as well as the creator, right? That's creating this right now. So, invalid supply, I got to put a supply in, of course. So how many do we want to create of these? So let's create 1,000, maybe 100,000 of these over here. And then how many decimals do we want? And let's go with 1 decimal. So right now that would be 1,000,000.1. All right, is what we got there. So let's go ahead and create that. And in doing so, there's that, 5 seconds, right, to get written to the blockchain. Once that gets written, now we go down to the bottom, we should see it down here. Right over here, there's the pizza RAF, and there you can see the different roles that are assigned to, they're all assigned to the same users. Well, now you've got the ability to send this asset to somebody, to modify the asset. So in other words, you can change the roles here. You got freezing, unfreezing, revoking, and all those functions. Also, this other link here will bring us out to a browser. So this is one of the first browsers we will show you here. And this browser will look at asset IDs. So it takes that asset, brings it up here. Here is the total supply. It tells you how many are in circulation. It gives you the creator address, the reserve address. There's a transaction here that created it. You can click on the transaction ID. It'll give you the time when it was done, who it was done from and to as well. So a lot of great information there. There's one more browser to show you as well. Actually, there's a few more, but I'll show you one here today. And that would be the browser for Goal Seeker. And very similar as well. And you have the ability to look at blocks, asset transactions. They also have a developer portal. This is done by PureStake.io. We'll talk more about them. And the other one that was done was by Rand Labs, and they also have API services too. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that once again. And also you have the different networks that are available to you: mainnet, testnet, betanet, and mainnet also displays the current value of the algo right there. So it's a little over $1 right now. Just about 4 weeks ago, was it Ryan, about 25 cents, I think. So this whole industry is really going on the upward trend, all right, is what we're seeing there. So pretty cool things there are happening. Let's go back over to the deck here. And the next thing I want to show you here is Algo Signer. This is like a Chrome based wallet, and it's in the Chrome web store. Here's the link for it right there. And the way it works is this: you actually have the ability now to integrate with this wallet with your solutions or applications you're building. So I've got a couple of things added into my wallet here. And let's go ahead and click on Pizza Demo. And I can see here I've got, Pizza Rust. I can add a new asset. I can view all here. Let's go into Pizza Rust. Again, I forget what I called it last time, but it would be there. You get the idea. And you notice that there's that these are the same name, and you can also have the same unit name. The only thing that's unique about an asset is the asset ID that you see on the right-hand side. That is how you confirm that you're getting the right asset of something, someone that's sending it to you saying, okay, they'll give you instructions, look for this particular asset ID to opt in. And so you can actually do transactions. So let's go ahead and do one here. We'll go ahead and send some algos. I'm going to go back over here from my Rust account. Let's go ahead and send. Let's send one algo. And algos are to the six decimal. So one algo is equal to 1 million micro algos. And so I'm going to go to, I'll paste an address here. You can put a note in the note field. And then we can go ahead and send it. And I may have fat fingered that. Let's see. Yeah, fat fingered it. Try it again. Okay. All right, and there's the transaction ID. So I can copy that off, for example, go back to the account. Now I can see the list of transactions in my account right here in the wallet. And then once again, we have like a community page with a lot of great stuff. Well, this is kind of this is our developer portal we're looking at. And there's like another browser here, Economa. They did in Italy. So we can go ahead and search, this transaction, paste it there, and then you can see it. Whoops, let me see here. It must have been on mainnet. Let's try it here. Network. Oh, there. Now it's populating. It just took a minute to populate. So let's go ahead and type, see if this works this time. Oh, all right. First time I tried that, so there must be a trick here. Maybe you got to sign in for this one and use that. Okay, that could be what's going on. Okay, so anyway, never go off the script. That's what I always say. That got burned on that one. So anyway, let's go ahead and get back over to the deck. That kind of gave you the idea of a few cool tools right off the bat. And again, these are community members that made these. The Algo Desk and the Algo Signer both. So pretty cool stuff there. Also, Algorand Atomic Transfers is next. So I used to be a DBA at one point in my career. Don't tell anybody, but yeah, I was a DBA at one point, managing some large databases actually that was back when I was at Aetna Life and Casualty. And there comes a time when you need to have a referred to as a transaction in SQL database. Those are familiar with SQL, it could be several steps, and either all of those steps succeed or everything gets rolled back in the database to the way it was before that started. And atomic transfers is the same concept. All must succeed or all will fail. This is extremely useful. This is the secret sauce behind a lot of transactions that are done on the blockchain. It's a native function. Once again, layer 1, it's easy and secure, and you can wrap up to 16 transactions into one atomic transfer. This guarantees an exchange of goods. So in the example on the right, if person A sends 50 algos to person B, they're expecting to get a concert ticket back. So person B is going to send the concert ticket. If all of this happens, none of this happens. All right. So if only 50 gets sent to person B and B doesn't send the concert ticket, that 50 algos never got sent from person A. So that's exactly how to do it. But the real benefit of this is you can combine this with other Algorand technology. So those assets I just showed you, you can do a transaction on an asset from one person to another in exchange for another transaction and wrap that maybe in a smart contract. So a lot of things can be done with this to really make it some